and it came to me that when we look at most other fields, when you look at the human body, there's medical and physical science, and there's also a religious view. So people talk about tamasic food, and then what is holistic food for everyone. When you look at the universe, the astronomy, the scientists have got a particular view of what the universe is like, and then there's also a religious view. So there's a Jain map of the universe. Same thing with meditation in yoga. People, there's a modern perspective, people do asanas, exercises, people talk of breathing exercises, and there's also a religious view that if you look at Acharya Mahapragya, he says that the chakras are associated with the endocrine glands of the human body. So there's always a blend of spirituality and modern sort of perspective. If you look at nature, there are all these people who believe in environment, conservation, and also if you look at the religious point of view, our Acharam Sutra is also mentioned about all life forms have got souls, and therefore we should be considerate for each other's well-being. Same thing with nutrition, science and health, there's a religious view, what kinds of foods are good. So then it occurred to me, how can we apply finance or finance theory to Jainism, and in particularly derivatives. Now derivatives are a very particular form of finance, like most people know about shares and bonds, and derivatives are something quite special. They started since the 1970s and they've now really exploded. And many people sometimes say that one of the reasons for the financial problems, Warren Buffett says that derivatives are sometimes like toxic waste. Because if people don't use them properly, you can magnify your profits and you can even magnify your losses significantly. So the purpose of today's talk is giving a brief overview of what derivatives are from a finance perspective, and then eventually towards the second part of my talk, I'll try to link that to Jainism to see how the principles of derivatives can be applied to the Jain point of view. Now, let's just say, for example, Jain Vishwa Bharati is an organization. So this is a charitable organization. But let's assume for now that this was a limited company. And as many of you know, that Jain Vishwa Bharati has got ambitions to purchase a property and they want to relocate so that they can carry out its activities. Let's say, for example, that Jain Vishwa Bharati wants to purchase a property and they need £1 million. So if they need £1 million, what are the sources of income? Let's for now not consider that Jain Vishwa Bharati is a charitable organization. If it's a commercial property, then there are one of two ways of getting obviously finance from the banks, but if one of the other ways would be shares. So JVB can say that I'm going to issue a share, we are going to issue 1 million shares, each share is going to be £1. And it tells to the public, please buy the share of our company, and if million shares are people contribute £1, then JVB gets his £1 million. The question is that why would you want to buy a share of JVB? You would then think, what is JVB? What's the business of JVB? JVB does Preksha meditation. They might be conducting workshops, shibirs, they'll be doing education. And each of these activities, let's say, because it's a commercial entity, then each of these activities will be paid for. So if we have a Preksha meditation camp, we'll be charging money for it. If you have got an education or something, so you would think that if JVB has got a very unique business proposition, and through all these activities, Gyan Shala, through all these workshops, shibis, in each of them, it's going to become a very popular activities they're going to be doing, then JVB will be able to raise much more money and my £1 share will actually increase in value. So that's why you would like to purchase JVB share. Now, from a JVB's perspective, what happens? Why would they not want to issue shares? Because what happens is the control, JVB loses its control. Because now the company belongs to each person who holds the share. So if you own £1, so some people say, I don't want to invest £1, but I want to invest £10,000. So you've got now higher percentage holding in JVB. And if someone owns £500,000 of shares, then they've got a significant person. So they're almost 50% of the company owns with them. And so whatever they say has to be, the JVB has to move along according to their wishes. So by issuing lots of shares, JVB loses its ownership structure. So the other way of raising finance for JVB is to issue debt. Saying we want to have control ourselves, the committee says we want to have control, we will actually issue a bond or a debt. So we got £1 million and we'll tell the public, please lend us some money and we will give you money back in 2 years times, 5 years times and 10 years times. And you'll say, why should I lend you money? We'll say, we'll give you interest. And so the interest will be dependent on the riskiness of JVB, how people perceive. So sometimes in the past, people used to get interest rates of 5%, 6%, 7%. Now the interest rates environments are very low. So you can say we'll give you 2% interest, which will be much better than putting in the bank. So in that way, then what happens is that you lend JVB money, and JVB will sort of obviously carry on these activities with a view that JVB has to give the money back to you with interest after 5 years or 10 years, whatever is the agreement. So these are the two main sources of finance. In that way, the ownership structure, the control and management still resides with JVB. JVB has just borrowed money from the public, and the obligation is gone back to them. So these are the two main sources. Now, derivatives are a recent innovation in a separate class of financial instrument. Derivatives are actually traded. So just like you can buy shares on the market, you can look at the FTSE and you can buy shares. Derivatives, you can also go to the market and you can actually buy and sell derivatives. Now, what does it mean? It's quite simply an instrument that derives its value from something else. So that's what derivatives is, derivatives. So before we look at the financial products, let's look at an example of what a derivative is. Let's take, for example, a car insurance premium. When you have a car insurance premium, what happens is you're going to pay a premium to an insurance company with a view that if you meet with an accident, the insurance company is going to pay you the full value of your car back. But if you look at it, and the question then arises, how does the car insurance company charge its premium? How come sometimes the premium is £400, sometimes it's £700, could be, if it's a young driver, then it's going to be £2,000. So this is where you have to look at it, that the car insurance is actually an option. So for example, if you had a minor dent on your car, are you going to go to the insurance company and claim?
No.
So by taking out a car insurance premium, you've got an option. You don't, so it's very important to know that when we talk about derivatives are also called as options. And this is a very, very important thing you have to keep at the back of your mind, that it's an option for you. You've paid a premium, and after paying that premium, the choice is yours whether you want to make a claim or not. Obviously, if it's a minor dent, you know that if you're going to make a claim, then the insurance premium will go up the next year. So it's very important for you to know that, so it's an option, the choice is yours. And I'm really emphasizing the word option and the choice, because that's where the financial derivatives will come into picture. Let's look at the social class, social class. For example, Jainism says that we are all pure souls, but still the value of you depends. You belong to this caste here. You are the son of so and so. So your importance in society is being derived from something else, because otherwise we are all the same. We are all equal. But sometimes people say, "Oh, look at this person here. He's the chief executive of this company." So the person's choice. Or the person's value is actually deriving, your value is being derived from something else. Either your social background, your family background, your educational background, or your financial status. So your value is actually being derived by something else. So you can see where derivatives comes in, that your value of something has to come from something else. It's not your own value. The value is coming from something else. Now, option is an example of a derivative. The most important thing which we'll discuss later on, that options have a non-linear payoff. Now, what does a non-linear payoff mean? If you buy a share, so if you buy a share of £1, if that £1 goes to £1.50, you'll make 50 pence profit. If that £1 share goes down to, 50 pence, you have lost 50 pence. It's a linear product. The more the share price goes, you'll make a direct profit. The more the share price goes down, you'll make a loss. So it's a very linear product, up and down, just depending on the share price movement. Whereas a derivative is something quite different. You are going to be paying something, so you have paid, so that's a negative. You can see profit, so this is on the negative side. You've paid something, so that's negative. But you only make a profit if certain conditions are met. So let's look at the car insurance premium. You've paid a premium, so that's out of your pocket, car insurance premium. If your car is a write-off, then you get a full value of a car back. So you can see now there's a profit here if you exercise it. But if it's a minor dent, you'll say, no, I think there's no need for me to exercise. So the option is yours. So it's a non-linear payoff. So you've paid a premium, and you'll only gain if you exercise, I now, because the car has been written off, let me get the full value of the car back, so that then you'll get the full value of your car. So it's a non-linear payoff. Otherwise, what happens every year, you lose your premium. So every year you've paid premium and you've lost that premium. And I'm giving you this insurance example, and we'll look at the same example when you look at shares. Okay, so we'll look at that a bit later on. So let's look at what an Oxford English Dictionary definition is. Option. What is an option? The right or power of choosing. And this is fundamentally the essence of derivatives. Derivatives are giving you the right or the power of choosing. It's not mandatory. Some party has got the right to exercise, and other party has to fulfill that obligation. So this is very, very important, and that's why it's called option. We've looked at the car insurance premium. The premium depends on the value of the car. So now we are going into the nitty-gritty of how do I choose what's the premium? What's the premium dependent upon? And that's essentially the essence of what I'm trying to get to, because eventually there were Black-Scholes, there were two Nobel laureates in America who actually found out the value of finding a derivative. How do you actually find the value of an option? So I'm leading towards that. So to look at the car insurance premium, which is the value of the option, it depends on the value of the car. So if it's a small mini car, then the premium will be less. If it's going to be a Rolls Royce, the value is going to be. So it depends on the spot value, the value of the underlying. Because the premium, which is a derivative, it depends on the car. The premium is depending on something else. And what is this something else? The value of this, the spot value of the car. It depends on the postcode. So if you are staying in a very small rural area, then they'll say, there are very few people living in this area, the density is very small, the chances of accidents are very low, so the premium is going to be low. But if you're staying in a cosmopolitan city, then it's going to be very high. And in financial jargon, what is this? Volatility. So what does volatility mean in financial jargon? Volatility means something which is going to fluctuate so much, that's very volatile asset, and something which is going to go very small, that's less volatile. So in financial jargon, the postcode means volatility, and what that implies is that if the volatility is low, then the value of the option is low. But if the volatility is high, then the value of the option is going to be much higher. And again, this will come clear when you look at this example of the stock price. The other factor which determines the premium of this of your car insurance premium is the duration. How long do you want the insurance premium for? Do you want it for 6 months? I just want to insure my car for 6 months. Then the premium will be this X amount. But if you want to insure it for 1 year, then it's going to be twice the amount. So the value of your premium depends on the duration. How long do you want the option for? So greater the duration, greater is going to be the value of the premium. And bear in mind, I'm going to be discussing all this from a financial perspective and then link that to spirituality. Other examples is, for example, a piece of land with potential oil. So there is Shell company. They want to say that we've now got a piece of land here, and they now need to actually drill, and with a view that we do not know if oil is going to be there. But the initial outlay is going to be a huge amount of money to actually even find out whether the oil is going to be there. So the option is theirs. It's not mandatory that they need to actually drill. So the option is, so the committee or the directors will say, should we actually engage in this? And what's going to determine that? The value of the oil. If the price of the oil has really dropped down, they'll say, why should I spend all this amount of time and effort to drill? Maybe I'll find oil. And if I do find oil, the price of oil has gone so down that it's not even worth me doing all this. So it depends. So that's a spot value, the value of the oil. So that determines whether they want to do it. But again, it's an option. Research and development. Many of the biotech companies have to decide, okay, should we spend lots of money trying to come up with a new medicine? First of all, will it meet the FDA approval, the health department's approval? If it does, how widespread is this disease? Is this disease sort of very small and only very few percentage of the population gets this disease, or is it a very, very widespread disease? So all this, they have to do. So these are all options. So all the people who are here have to decide, should I do this or should I do that? It's not mandatory. And all these options have got some value. Education is a degree. So if I want to say that let's educate our children, fine, so the children have been educated. After the education, the choice is theirs whether they want to work in that field and to make money, or they can say, look, I just don't want to do anything, I just want to sit back. So again, that's an education. Education is a choice, and that choice has got certain value. Yes, if you're well educated, then your prospects are much, much greater. Religion can also be viewed as an option. No one is forcing anyone to pursue spirituality. And we'll see that why it's a valuable option. So this again is an option to us. The fact that we've been born as Jains or as Hindus, as Christians, as Muslims, that's fine. But the right to exercise our philosophy is our choice. No one can force us to practice it. Now let's really look at the financial options. Now, a financial option or derivative, they are all synonymous words, is an instrument that gives its holder the right but not the obligation to buy or sell something at a fixed price in the future. So this is a definition of a financial option. An instrument that gives its holder the right. So it's not it's your choice, but not the obligation. It's not mandatory to buy or sell something at a fixed price in the future. So the right to buy is called a call option, and the right to sell is called a put option. So these are two kinds of options which are traded in the markets, in the financial derivatives market. So if you open up your Financial Times, or if you go to the CBOE websites, you'll actually see that these are call options, and there are prices of call options and put options being traded in the market. Now let's see what is a call option, and let's see what is a put option. Okay, if you buy a call option, you pay a deposit or premium for the right to buy something into the future. So let's say, for example, so JVB share price is £1. So what's going to happen? You don't want to buy the JVB share, but you'll say, in fact, I think that's the next example. I'll discuss that a bit later. But let's just understand what these call options are. If you buy a call option, you pay a deposit or premium for a right to buy something into the future. So what are you trying to do? Is I'm going to be paying a premium, and you got a piece of paper saying I've paid 20 pence or 50 pence, so I've paid some premium, and with this piece of paper, you've got the right to buy something into the future for a fixed duration. So you can say that this contract is valid for 6 months, and I've got the right to buy something in 3 months' time, or 6 months' time, or a year's time, depending on what contract you choose. So if you've bought the option, the person who is sell, because there are always two parties. When you buy a share, that means someone has sold the share. It doesn't come out of thin air. So whenever you buy something, someone has actually sold it. There are two parties to a transaction. So the seller of the option is forced to sell it to you at the agreed price. So the choice is yours. When you say you've got the right to buy something, so when you've paid the insurance premium to the car insurance company, then it's mandatory for them to pay if your car is a write-off. Then it's not their choice. The choice is yours to exercise. So one party has got the choice, the other party has to fulfill its obligation. So that's very important. One party has got the choice, the other party has to fulfill the obligation. You decide in the future whether you want to buy it or lose your deposit. So that's a call option. So here you gain as the market rises, and I'll show that to you. A put option is very unique, and this is one of the prime reasons why derivatives have become quite popular, because there's a very common concept in finance which is known as shorting. You can short the market. What does shorting mean? Is you can sell something with a view of making money. So traditionally think of it, most people when they buy something, the idea is to make money if the price goes up. If the price goes down, then you lose money. There's a novel concept, how can you make money in a falling market? If something is going to be dropping, how can you make money in something which is falling? And that's where the put options comes into the picture. You can make money in a falling market. Most of us were always used to it. If I buy something, if I buy a house, if the house goes up in value, I've made a profit. You buy a share, if the share price goes up, you've made money. If the share price goes down, you've lost money. But the opposite is, how can you make money in a falling market? You know that right now the markets are at all-time high, and you've got a very strong feeling that maybe the markets are going to go down. So this is where the put options come in. If you buy a put option, you pay a deposit. So you've again paid a deposit for the right to sell something into the future. So you've paid something, and now you don't have the right to buy, but you've got the right to sell. Now it's very important to realize that when you've got the right to sell, you do not own the asset. You'd say, I'm going to sell this house. But you don't own the house. How can you enter into a market and saying, I'm going to sell this house? When the asset, You can only sell something which you own. You can sell, I've got my watch, I'm going to sell my watch, I'm going to sell my phone. If you own the asset, you can sell it. But how can you enter into an agreement and say, I'm going to sell something to you, but I don't own the thing? Is there any way you can think of how you can do that? How can you enter into a market, into an agreement, saying, I'm going to sell you something. I enter into agreement with you that I'll sell you something. I'll sell this pen to you. But I don't own this pen. I don't own this. So when will I enter the market? Any ideas how you can make, why would I enter into that argument? I'll tell you that I'll sell this to you in 6 months' time at £1. Why would I want to enter into that agreement?
Think that it will go down.
Exactly. So if I have got a very strong feeling that the price of this pen is going to go down to 50 pence in 6 months' time, I will enter into an agreement saying, okay, I've entered an agreement, I'll go to the market, buy it for 50 pence and I'll sell it to you at one, because I've entered into an agreement that I'll sell it to you for £1. So I made money in a falling market. If my guess was wrong, if this price of pen becomes £2 in 6 months' time, I've lost my deposit. I've paid a deposit to sell something into the future. So if my bet was wrong, then fine, I've lost that 20 pence. So whatever the deposit or premium I've paid. So you can see that when I enter into a put option, if the price goes down, I make money. In a falling market, I've made money, and I've paid a small premium for that. And that's exactly what happens to shares. So put options, you make money in a falling market. Call options, you make money in a rising market. Why will I make money in a rising market? I've got the right to buy. So I paid a premium, and I've got the right to buy something. So okay, I say that I've paid a premium 50 pence, and I said I've got the right, so you now own the pen, and I've got the right to buy it from you at £1 in 6 months' time. Why would I want to say I'll buy this at £1 in the future? If I think it's going to be going to £2, I can then come back to you in 6 months' time and say, you remember this contract, I paid a deposit premium, and now I've got the right to buy it from you at £1, and the price in the market is at £2. So I'll come to you and say, okay, let's exercise this obligation, give me this pen for £1, and I'll sell it in the market at £2, I made £1 profit. So in a call option, I make money in a rising market. In a put option, I can make money in a falling market. And in both, I pay a small deposit. In this, suppose I've entered into an agreement to buy it to you at £1. And suppose that the price of this pen becomes 50 pence in 6 months' time. Why would I want to buy it from you at £1? I can go to the market and buy it at 50 pence. Why would I want to exercise my option? I will not. I lose the premium. So this is a very nice way of saying that you're paying a small premium with a view of either in a rising market or in a falling market. Here you gain as the market drops, and it's known as shorting. Okay, so now let's exactly look at a real example of a share. Share price of JBB today is £1 per share. So you can go into this cboe.com, or if this was a listed company, or you can go to LIFFE, Life. So for UK stocks, then there is a website called LIFFE where the options are traded, and for American stocks is cboe.com. So Apple stocks or Microsoft, you can go there and you can see the value of the call options and the value of the put options. So you can go and say, okay, let's check the price of buying a call option. Let's say that you can, and options are traded in such a way you can choose the strike price. What is the strike price? The price of JBB is £1 today. You can choose what you want to deal with. There will be a strike of 1.1, 1.2, 1.5, £2. There will be different strikes. And what does this strike mean? That you've got the right to buy JBB shares. You don't own JBB share right now. You are going to be paying a small premium. That premium is going to be dictated how much you're going to pay. And with the right to say, I want to buy JBB share in 6 months' time or 1 year's time, depending on what duration. So there are different durations which are listed on the market here. Whether you want to go for 3 months, whether you want to, because if you go for a 1 year option, you have to pay a higher premium. If you go for a 1 month option, you have to pay a lower premium. So depending on all the duration, you're going to choose which one you want. So you can say, okay, I want to go for a 1 month option. I want to buy JBB. I've got the right to buy JBB share at £1.50. And I'm going to be paying a premium of 10 pence. So you have actually entered into a contract, you have paid 10 pence to the broker, you got a piece of paper, not literally, it's an electronic transaction, which gives you the right. You've got the right now, because you've got the option to buy JBB share at £1.50 in 1 month's time. Why would you enter into this agreement? Because if you feel that in 1 month's time, JBB share is going to become £2, £1.80, £1.90, you will then say, I will exercise my option, and I'll say, okay, then you can buy it at 150. You don't have to go at that time in 1 month's time. Let's say JVB share is at £2. You don't have to buy the share at £2. You can say, I've got this option. I've got the option to buy it at £1.50. So if the share price rises to £2 by 16 Feb 2018, then you buy it at 150, can immediately sell at £2, and you've got an immediate profit of 50 pence because you bought it at 150. The price of JVB share in the market is £2 and it's 50, but you have to deduct your 10 pence because you paid a premium for this option. So the actual profit is 40 pence. Now look at it. If you had bought just JVB share at £1, right? Just the share, forget the option. And if it became £2, what's happened? You've actually doubled your money. So you made £1, so you doubled your money. So from £1, it's become £2. Your 10 pence, let's look at it in the same way. If you didn't buy the option, you just bought the derivative. You bought one derivative and you paid just 10 pence for it, not even £1, just 10 pence. And the profit you've made is 40 pence. Just for the same price movement, from £1 to £2, your share price you just made, you doubled your money. In this, you actually quadrupled your money. 4 times. By just paying 10 pence premium, you've just made 40 pence. So you've not doubled your money, but you made it 4 times. And that's called leverage. So that's why they are known as very, very dangerous. If you don't use them properly, you can make lots of money or you can lose lots of money at the same time. So that's exactly how it is here. So this is a profit and this is a share price. JVB share price is £1 here today. And the beauty about the options are, you don't have to wait until 16 February 2018. Suppose you do the transaction today, and by Tuesday or Wednesday, the share price of JVB goes from £1 to say £1.30. It's not even going to £2. But because it's actually going up, the chances of it hitting 150 are quite higher. Your 10 pence premium will actually become 25 pence or 30 pence. Because now the market says, because you bought it at 10 pence, now the chances are that it's the share price of JVB has gone from £1 to £1.30 just in 3 days time. This same value of this option is not now 10 pence, it's now going to be 25 pence. And so this is where, what determines this is where we are going to. That's the option pricing model. That how do you determine this premium value? And you can then trade, you don't have to wait until Feb 2018. You can go to the market and say, I bought it at 10 pence, I want to sell it at 25 pence. I don't want to wait until the maturity. But what happens is that if the share price, or if your bet was wrong, if the share price of JVB remained at £1 or even less than £1.50, then you just lose the premium. You don't exercise it, and that 10 pence that you paid, that's gone. Yeah, is it okay so far? Yeah.
So the same agreement we can exercise before 6th also. We can, like, suppose the strike price is 1.5.
Yeah.
And the agreement completion date is 6th Feb, but when it is,
Yeah.
we can exercise it before that.
You can exercise it in the meaning that you can sell the options beforehand. You're not. Traditionally, what happens is that for me to explain to you, I'm saying that you can actually go and get the shares. But you can just literally say before 16 Feb 2018, you can say, the price has gone up from £1 to £1.30. This value of the option which you paid at 10 pence will go up to 25 pence. You can go and close the contract, and that's it. So you can do it. So you don't have to buy the premium. So you can close the contract even before this. And therefore they are known as two in the actual definition of financial markets. There are two kinds of options: European options and American options. So there are one set of options which can be exercised anytime, and the other options can only be done on this date. That doesn't matter what happens in between, only what's here. And those options are not very popular because you just only on this date, whatever is the price, that determines the value of the option. And so those options are not very popular. The ones which are popular are you can exercise at any time. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong in a person trading in these derivatives and consider it as gambling and really not religious to do a trade like this.
So I think basically what happens is that, so your question is that if you deal with derivatives.
Yeah, is it really gambling, and is it illegal, not illegal, but not really for our Jainism?
Okay, so in financial markets, like anything else, there are two ways you can use derivatives. One is for you bought something and you are protecting yourself. So those are legitimate transactions. And others are known as speculation. So the speculation could be gambling, and you can say that whether it fits with the Jain values is that it's questionable. But with any of these things, you could. So I'll show. We can discuss it a bit later. That if you can use this as protection also. So if you're using it as protection, then they're legitimate instruments. But if you're using it, so it's almost like a knife. A doctor can use a knife to treat patients, that's good, but you can use a knife to kill someone. So then that could be wrong. So I think with anything else, whether they are right from a religious perspective, then you look at it from both perspectives. If you use it for I mean, generally I'm just using this to explain spirituality. In a very technical sense, this is all mundane things. This does not have got any relevance to spirituality. Shares, bonds, derivatives. So technically, if you're going to become like a monk, then all this is irrelevant. You are just purely concerned about your spiritual welfare. But because we are householders, and you know, this is just trying to say that this is there. So if you ask a monk, saru che kharab che, to ye mat kaise ne kira tama tama atma nu kalyan karo. Ama to there's no need to consider anything. You know, this is all taking away you from your real goal. So that's from a very puritanical point of view. But from a practical point of view, we are householders. We need to make a living, and so therefore you can choose whether you want to engage in a proper way, or you also want to engage in some kind of speculative point of view. But that's your choice.
But how can you say that you're doing it for protection? In what way you mean protection?
Okay, so protection could be that, for example, you've actually bought some share. You bought JVB share, and what then? So you have physically bought the shares, and then what happens is you're worried. That JVB no £1 no share. So kale abine 50 pence suggest to su thase maru. I'll be losing a lot of money. You're worried about the price of it going to. You can then buy a put option. You can buy a put option saying, I want a 1 year protection. I don't mind paying 20 pence, 30 pence extra. But if the share price of JV drops from £1 to 10 pence, then I want to be protected. Then, so depending on the strike price which you choose, whether it's £1.80, £1.70, that's your risk appetite. £1 no share, 80 pence I don't mind. But if it falls below 80, then I lose sleep. I want protection at 80 pence. If it falls anywhere below 80 pence, so you can go to the market and say, I want to buy a put option, strike price 80 pence for 1 year. What is the premium? So you can see the premium here, and you pay that. So if it's going to go below, if it becomes 50 pence, then you are going to get the difference from 80 pence to 50 pence. You've got that.
So really it's hedging.
That's hedging. Yeah. So exactly that's the way. So financial instruments can be used for hedging, or it can be used for speculation. Speculation means you don't own the share, you just want to play the market, you just want to short, you just want to go. So that's one way.
Sajid, just a quick question. When you're shorting like this, does it tend to be a very short time period, or can it be a long time period?
Options go from 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. So the durations, there are even 1 or 2 year options.
Okay.
I will not.
Long term. Like,
No,
you know, I see where Kaka's kind of like talking in terms of like whether this is in a way in a form of gambling.
Right.
Like just from a different perspective, like if you put your money in a building society, although you only get 1% today, but there's a government guarantee that money is safe. Or if you buy something like premium bonds, whatever money you buy, what number of premium bonds you buy, that money is guaranteed that you get the same amount back.
Right.
Whether the value reduces with time is irrelevant, but the money is safe. With this, there's no safety as such, because in a sense, you are speculating all the way through, and you know, you've not got inside information whether this company is going to go up or down.
Right.
So unless you've got actual knowledge of the company to a real depth to know, that I know that this company is now heading towards making a lot of money, so this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
I put a call option in to say that this is going to go up, and hey presto, you know, 6 months later, I made good money from this.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, because it's speculation, is it not actually still a form of gambling?
I think per se, I think the real answer should be it is. So whether you buy shares, whether you buy bonds, there is some kind of reward in it. So you obviously want to get some gain out of it. So essentially, bonds less so, but shares it is. So even shares is a form of gambling. After all, you can do all the analysis of looking at PE ratios, this and the other. After all, you know, you can get the best brains in the world, but after all, it's still speculation. So if you really want to go to the real bottom line, that it is a form of speculation. Yeah.
Can I just explain to Kaka?
Yeah.
For the
gambling is not the right word for this. Frankly, if I look out and I see, I think it's going to rain,
Yeah.
and I decide I will take umbrella or not take umbrella.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I might choose not to take an umbrella.
Yeah.
It rains, I get wet.
Yeah.
So that's my option. It's not gambling. I made a decision.
No, but I think if you look at it, okay, but if you buy a share,
Yeah.
right, you're buying a share with a view of it going up. If it goes down, so in a way, if people say, "Oh, stock market, I'm playing the stock market." After all, you are playing with a view of making money, so you're taking views. So whether you call it bets,
Gambling is not the right word. Frankly, I'm not to say because some people have sort of got conducted themselves very well,
yeah,
and they lost money,
right,
and then that has consequences.
right,
It's got a bad name.
sure,
So the idea is to apply proper investment principles,
right,
and not sort of get too carried away and get into like this form of gambling. But
Right.
The basic philosophy is investment.
right.
That's
Yeah, so I think in financial market you can call it investments, and if you look at any small print, investments can go up or can go down. So after all, it's an informed choice.
Yeah.
So if you want to be it's like a very crude language. If you want to use it very crudely, it's gambling. But if you want to use it from a very sort of financial jargon, then it's an investment. It's an informed choice. You have to go with a very well knowing that this is the risk I'm entering into, and that's a very important part of the financial markets, that they really want that the client should understand what risk they're getting into. And many of these derivatives, there have been a lot of law cases whereby the salespeople have been selling products to the clients, and the clients then come and say, "I didn't understand." Like if you know, in the past there were CDOs, commercial debt obligations, and CSOs, and these are very complex products based on this. And then people then came up and saying, they've dropped in value significantly, and then the clients say, we didn't understand the risk implied, and there were a lot of legal cases based on that. So I think you're right. So it's a very informed choice. You have to understand what you're getting into, and then it's fine. Then whether you call it gambling, whether you call it investments,
it's a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Then
So-
you don't call it gambling.
Yeah. So let's look at it from a very quickly from a put option example. Share price today of JVB is £10 a share. You check the price of buying a put option at strike 7. So now the price of JVB is so high, you now feel that the market's at top end. The only way it's now for it to go down. That's again a view. It could go from £10 to £20 or £30, but you feel that the price now it's going to go down. So you can go and say, I want to choose a strike price of 7. So this strike price is your choice. There will be a strike price of 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. If the strike price is 4, that means the premium you're going to pay is very low, because the protection is, the chance of it going from £10 to £4 is so low that for you to buy that protection, someone say the premium is going to be below. If you want to buy a protection, it's at £10 and £9, the premium you have to pay is very high. So you have to make these choices that how much do I really want to do the protection. The maturity is against your choice. Do I want protection for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? But you cannot say I want 27 days. So they are fixed contracts, 1 month, 3 months. So and you can see when they are listed, and then you'll pay a premium. If the share price falls to £5 by 16 Feb, then what happens is, remember, when you have done this, you have sold something. You got the right to sell something, but you don't own it. So if it has gone down to £5, you can go to the market. You can say, I'll buy it at £5. You sell it immediately at £7 because you've got the right to sell. One person has got the right to sell. You made an immediate profit of £2, but you've already paid a premium of 10 pence. So you made about £1.90. So as you can see, look at this graph here. Share price, this is share price increasing, but as the share price is going down, 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 your profit is going up, up, up. So these are the two ways of literally saying, when I said in the first slide, non-linear payoff. It's not going, linear payoff is just like this, a share price. If something goes this way, that's a linear payoff, but this is a non-linear payoff. So if you look at a call option, you make money in a rising market. So as you see, the share price is going up, 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 and your profit on this side is going up, up. So you make money in a rising market in a call option, and in a put option, you make money in a falling market. So yeah, sell something you don't own, you buy it cheaper later, sell high, buy cheap. Just the opposite. Like generally more people will say, buy low, sell high. This is exact opposite. You sell high, buy cheap. I've got the right to sell something and with a view of buying it cheaper. So the options market have been active since the 1970s. They are traded on the London International Financial and Futures Exchange since 1992. At present, options are traded on shares of approximately 70 major UK companies. So they have to be quite listed companies for you to trade options. So some of the smaller companies don't have options listed. And options are traded just like shares and bonds. So you can go to these websites and trade on this. So this is a real example of what you can see, what you will see when you go in there. So you can see that these are the strike prices here, 10, 12, 50, 15. So these are the different strike price. Then you will see strike price, maturity, whether it's July, August, September. So there's going to be a strike price, there's going to be a maturity, and then obviously there's a bid ask on this. So it's like on Microsoft. And this is call options, and on this side this will be put options. Now, the real crux of today's talk is, how do you come up with this option value? How do you determine what is the value? Do I pay 10 pence premium? Do I pay 30 pence premium? How do I come up with this value of this option? And Scholes, Merton, and Fisher and Black, these were Nobel laureates in USA in about 1970s, scholars, financial scholars, and they did a lot of brainstorming and came up with a magic formula, and then they got a Nobel Prize. So they came up with all this research. How do I determine the value of this option? Now, this value of the option is almost like a black box. Let's look at it. So if you went to a restaurant and saying, I'll count the fine share, very nice food. What happens is you've got the ingredients, then there's a process, recipe and method, and then you'll get the output. Again, with spirituality, you've got the knowledge, then you've got some process. This is how you should be doing meditation, yoga, and then hopefully there's an output. Same thing with these financial markets. They said, let's look at some inputs. What are the key parameters which determines an option value? So these are some inputs. There's going to be some formula, some magic formula, and then I'll get the output value. So it's almost like saying, okay, so this is my calculator. Let's put some inputs here, and there'll be an output, like a computer. And so what was their formula? So they came up with this complex formula here. So this is what they came up with, that my value of my call option, the premium, is going to be dependent on this formula here. Sounds very complicated, and obviously I'm not going to be here to deriving this, but let's look at what are the key factors and get an intuition of what determines this option value. What is the value of this call option, or what is the value of this put option? So the value of the call option depends on S. S is a spot price. Let's understand that. If JVB is at £1 a share, I want to buy a call option at strike 150. But if JVB share price is £7 or £10, then my value of my call option will be much higher, because my underlying value is very up. So it's almost like a car insurance premium. How much insurance premium do I have to pay for a Mini, or if it's a Rolls Royce? So if the value of the underlying, so you remember derivative, it derives its value for something which is underlying value. So the underlying here, what is the underlying? The share price. If the share price of this particular stock is going to be high, the spot price, whatever the price of this is, then my value of my option is going to be higher. So that's really important to bear in mind. If my value of my underlying is high, then my value of my option is going to be higher. So that's your S. Let's look at the K. K is called the strike price. So now I got JVB is £1 a share. If I want to say that I want to buy an option at strike £1.20, then how much premium will you pay? Quite a lot, because the chance of going to from £1 to £1.20 is quite high. But if it's like I want to buy an option to buy JVB at £2 a share, the chances of it going from £1 to £2 are quite low. So your premium is going to be lower. So that's your strike price. Interest rates. We'll discuss interest rates later. Time is quite intuitive. If you have got a car insurance premium, if you have got an insurance premium for 6 months, you have to pay less. If you have to got an insurance premium for a year, you have to pay more. So the option value depends on time. Shorter the time, shorter the option value. Longer the time, greater the option value. So we will look at that. And last thing in this D1 formula is this, known as volatility. And volatility is also a very, very important parameter for determining the option value. And if you think of it, again, it's very easy to consider it in terms of the car insurance. If there's a lot of volatility, if you're staying in a city, lots of cars, lot of traffic, volatility is high, the value of the premium is going to be higher. But if you're staying in a small village, then the value, so the low volatility, so stocks with, so generally in the past, utility stocks had very low fluctuations. electricity companies, water companies. So if you look at the options value, will be lower. But if you look at biotech companies, technological companies, their option values will be much higher. And that depends on volatility. So just to give you a rough sense, electricity companies could have volatilities of 12%, 15% volatility. Some of the technical companies I've seen have got volatilities of 150%, 170%. So huge volatilities. That a price can go from 2 to 4 or can go from 2 to 1 in a short period of time. So that's what volatility means. That it's right now the price is £1 and £1 can jump to £5 or £1 can jump to, it's almost like cryptocurrencies right now. Huge volatilities.
They have options.
Huh?
The cryptos have options.
So what did Black-Scholes discover? That the value of the option depends on 5 core parameters. This is really the crux. That how do I determine? Depends on the current price of the instrument. We have seen the spot price, the strike price, the target price. If JVB is at £1, do I choose a strike price of £1.20, £1.70, £2? So that's a strike price. What's the strike price? Time to maturity, interest rate, and volatility. So these are the 5 key parameters, and it's going to be quite unique to see how I'm going to be linking this to spirituality. So the option value depends on the time value plus the intrinsic value. Okay, so let's just look at this. For a call option, higher the spot price, higher the value of the JVB share price, higher is going to be the option value. Higher the strike price, lower the option value. Because if JVB right now is at £1 and you say I want to have the right to buy JVB share at £2 in 1 year's time, the chance of it hitting £2 is so low that the premium, someone says, okay, what's the right of the premium, is going to be quite low. But if you have got JVB is at £1 and saying I want to have a strike price of £1.10, £1 and 10 pence, the chances of it going from £1 to £1.10 in 1 year's time is so high that the premium which you have to pay is much higher. So the strike price, if the strike price is higher, much further away from where you are, then the option value is going to be lower. Time, greater the time, greater the option value, car insurance premium. Volatility, higher the volatility, higher the option value, because if JVB is at £1, it can go from £1 to £5, and from £5 it can go down to 50 pence, and 50 pence again to £10. Higher the volatility, higher the, because for you to hit your strike price is going to be much higher with the higher volatility. And interest rates higher, option value higher. Interest rates is quite important. Interest rates it's beyond our control. Interest rates are set by the government, by the Fed or by the Bank of England. And what happens is, suppose you've got £1. You can buy a £1 share of JVB, but you'll say, rather than me buying £1 of JVB share, why don't I buy a call option? Call option is just going to be 10 pence premium, depending on whatever strike you choose. So with that 90 pence left, you can actually go and put that in your bank and just earn interest. So higher the interest rates, if the interest rates were 10%, you're actually earning money on your 90 pence and you're only speculating with your 10 pence. So higher the interest rates, higher the option value. So again, to answer your question, what are the advantages of options? Allows the buyer to be covered against an adverse event in the future. So it's like protection. You could use it as a pure hedging perspective. Similar to insurance contract, non-linear payoff, very important. What getting and leveraging in finance means, as you saw, that by paying £10 premium, you could make a 40 pence gain. So it's actually leverage. With a very small outlay, you're making huge profits. And if your bet goes wrong, then you just lose that 10 pence. Risks can be reduced and losses can be minimized. Example, so you've now bought JVB at £10 a share. And then you think, what if it drops down to £2 again? You can then buy a put option at strike 7, and therefore your losses are minimized. Okay, I don't mind taking a loss from £10 to £7, £3 loss I can bear, but anything below £7 I don't want to lose. You buy a put option at strike 7. And so anything, if it goes down to even £1, then you'll get from £1 to £6, you'll get that money back. So you protected yourself with a very minimal loss. So use of options, speculation and casino. It's almost like casino. People can say they just want to speculate, or hedging or protection. So these are again uses of options. It could be used in 2 ways. Now let's look at Black-Scholes apply to Jainism. Does option have any value? We'll focus on the 5 golden parameters of the option value. Okay, so I'll look at the first principle. Now I'm linking this to spirituality. The first parameter is the spot value. The value of the option depends on the spot value. In spirituality, what is the spot value? The spot value is we are being born in the Jain faith. So that is our underlying spot value. Because I've got the right to follow my spirituality. It's my choice whether I want to follow religion. So the spot value for me is simply being born. Human birth is rare. In Uttaraden Sutra it says getting birth in a human, because if we believe in the reincarnation, human birth is rare. Out of that human birth, we've been fortunate enough to have this Jain philosophy. Liberation is possible in humans only. So therefore, if you are born in any other realms, then even as Devlok, even if you're born as angels, you cannot get liberation. Liberation is only possible in the human form. So therefore, my spot value is quite high. I've been born as a human. I've got the Jain faith, and now liberation is only possible through this domain. We've got the sanskar from our parents, from our family, from our heritage. We've got the culture, we've got the temples, we've got the various prayers, we've got the meditation techniques, pilgrimage. We've got all these things, so this is the spot value. And so therefore, if the spot value is very high, the value to practice this religion is very high. Now, if you look at it, there is actually was a psychologist, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he's saying that for any human person, first thing is they need clean air, they need food, water, sleep, and excretion. These are the basic needs which people need. I cannot think of all this religion and all these high ideals if I do not have my basic matters met. Then after I have got the basic food, water, then I need to look at security. Do I have a house over myself? Do I have employment? Can I earn income? And looking after my family. So this is the second level of safety. Then they said after you got this, then people want friendship, family, and intimacy between people. After that, then the next level is esteem. After all this, then I can say I've got self-esteem, I've got confidence, I've got achievement. Because now, if I don't have any money, if I'm very poor, I don't have the confidence, I don't have the self-esteem. And after all these levels, can I then think of morality, creativity, spontaneity? So that what it's saying is, okay, it's nice we're in that privileged position that we don't have to. We've got a nice income. You look at so many parts of the world, Syria and many other places. There's so much strife. There's so much problems in those areas that people can't even think of religion and spirituality at that stage, because you're just looking at day-to-day survival. So for us, we're in a very lucky and privileged situation that our underlying spot value is quite high, and we've got this. As even Bhagwan Mahavir said, as the fellow leaf of the tree falls to ground, as the leaf falls to the ground, when its days are gone, even so is the life of man. Gautam, be careful all the while. Our life is just like a leaf. One day the leaf is going to drop down. So it's very important. Think and yeah. So what I'm trying to say here, I'm trying to make an analogy of the spot price to that, saying that our underlying faith is so pristine that Jainism is priceless, therefore the option value is very, very high indeed. So for me, the right to practice my religion is very high because the spot value is so high. Now, strike price and target price. This is very, very interesting. Now, before I go to the slide, now for example, what happens is all of us here are in a different form of spirituality. That we are all at different levels in terms of our spirituality. If someone told you that the best way to practice religion, every petition, all of you have to fast for 8 days. All of you have to do pratikaman daily. All of you have to do this. You'll say, the value of practicing option is very boring. There are so many these do's and don'ts. I don't like this religion here. But there are some people who do it wholeheartedly. So all of us are at different phases of our lives. So we have to choose the strike price, which is closest to what, okay, I do daily reading. So how can I improve myself? What's the strike I can choose? But if someone told you that choose a strike very high, everyone should be doing fasting for 20 days. Everyone should be reading 5 scriptures every day. If you set your target so high, then you'll say the value of this option is very, very low. I can't do this. But if someone has actually advanced, some people who are actually at that stage and they can do it, fair enough for them. But so you have to choose your strike price individually to get the maximum value of the option. So all of us have to choose saying, okay, yeah, this is what the code of conduct is prescribed by the religion. what can I do? What can I set my strike price to get the most value of this option? If I choose my strike price so high, the value for me to practice this religion is going to be quite low. So, for example, it's like thinking of a child learning how to walk. Immediate milestone is walking rather than learning calculus. Nano baby hoy, you can't tell that kid, oh, ah chokra ne calculus nathi avadtu. The milestone, oh, he's not a clever kid, he doesn't know calculus. He's just a 2-year-old kid. But the strike price is so high, how can you say that this person is intelligent or not intelligent because he doesn't know calculus at the age of 3? So you say, for this baby, can he, at this age, can he do ABC? Does he know his sums? So your strike price is dependent on where you are right now. If you choose yours and then just make a blanket statement and say, this kid is not very clever, well, you're not looking at the right frame. So strike price has to be chosen according to where we are. Acharya Tulsi also presented the Anuvrat movement in 1949. So it says in short measure Anuvrat. Anu means small and Vrat means vows. So what it says is, so depending on where we are, where the public and where the society is everywhere, it says let's have a code of conduct and have small targets. So that was very important to know that what Acharya Tulsi is telling, that don't worry if you can't say, okay, do this, tame roj akla tame read this many scriptures, do this, do that. You choose, I will not eat any, I will not have any intoxicants, I will not smoke, I will not drink. So tame ko, well, you know what, I don't smoke, I don't drink, so for me that target is not relevant, for me it doesn't make a difference. Okay, then what's your next target? What can you do? So everyone can choose their target and get the maximum value of this religion. So people can choose, this doesn't apply to me, I already do that. For me, we are all vegetarians. So someone telling me don't eat eggs or don't eat meat, that's not relevant to me. But for someone, that's a big thing. I think make sure that your kids don't start eating non-vegetarian. For them, that strike is very important. After they reach that strike, okay, now what's the next strike? What's the next strike? But if you choose a strike, if you tell all the kids here, the only way to practice religion is to do roj samay tamare karwani, roj sawar sang pratikam karwanu, and they'll say, oh boy, the target you're setting me is such so high that I don't like this religion of yours, it's too dry. So you just choose your strike to get the maximum value out of it. So that's very important to see that how we can choose this to get the maximum value, because after all, practicing, I'm really getting the core, practicing religion is an option. It's not mandatory, it's an option. And so therefore, how can you maximize the value of this option? So to maximum value of Jainism, set achievable targets to climb the spiritual ladder. And all of us will be at different levels. And so therefore, everyone can set their own targets to say, how can I maximize this value? This is very interesting. I mean, when I was young, I have heard many times, religion kare garanu, buddho thai se tare religion garanu, atyano time che ne kaam karanu time. It's time to make money, time to enjoy, and religion is time when we have sort of grey hair. I'll say that's a time to start following religion. But if you look at it from an option point of view, that's very counterintuitive. The maximum value of the option is when you have the greatest time until maturity. So the sooner you start, the greater the value of the option. Because when you start getting towards old age, who knows, first of all, whether you'll get to old age. Secondly, how do you know whether your health is going to be good and whether you'll have the right frame of mind and all the factors are conducive. So the value to practice this religion is much higher when you have greater time to maturity. So the earlier you start, the much better the value you have to the value of this great religion. And as you can see, young sadhus are also taking diksha. So that's just amazing to see that in this day and age, that there are still young people who are inspired to take asceticism.
What do you consider to be the time period? Is it a life? Is it because we get reincarnated? So what is the period then?
No, because when you get the option to practice religion right now is this human birth right now. You've got the mind, you've got all the faculties to think. When you're born in some other, so if you're born into an animal kingdom, you don't have the mind to think. I mean, there are some people, there are two kinds of animals, samjini and unsamjini. So, but if you're born into some kind of realm where you don't have mind to think, then you don't have the option to practice. So it's now. Because this is the time we want to improve our life now and hopefully start climbing up spiritually. So it's this time period now, this golden period right now. That's what Gautam, Mahavir told to Gautam Swami. So make most of the time period now. Volatility. This is very interesting. So you've now already achieved. So this is the target I want to achieve. And if something is very volatile, then this option value is very low. If you're in a very volatile environment, then you can see that it can reach the target. So volatility means going down, going up, going down. Here it's just, this is it, it's just in very small movements. Now if you
center line.
the center line is whatever, it's your target, it's your strike. So this is, the share price is £1 a share right now.
Jainism.
So, so Jainism is, these are the core Jain philosophy.
Okay.
So the, we've got our 9 tattvas, the 6 realities. So these are some of the core values here that we know that, and some people can follow it. Sometimes people go down, go up, down. But here you're just deviating so significantly from the true faith. So you're going down, up, down, up. So in this year, what I was trying to convey here is, in the olden times, if you were staying in a small village, and most of us, let's take 100, 200 years ago, people were not traveling as much. Most of our ancestors came from small villages. They used to be like a small community, a temple. They could be monks and sadhus coming along. The environment was very conducive. There was not that much volatility. There was no internet. There was no many factors to deviate someone going astray. So therefore, the value of the option perhaps was not as much as this time. People just followed, just like herd mentality. But in today's day and age, with all so much volatility right now, you can have good company, bad company. You can look at media. You can have some very good documentaries. You can have bad things. Good friends, bad friends. We are staying in a very volatile environment right now. And before, people used to have this conception that if you're in India or in some kind of Eastern countries, then they were like, but right now, if you look at what's happening in India or any other Eastern countries, there's no difference between West and the East right now. Before there was a clear demarcation. You people in the West, there's a lot of volatility, but in the East we have got some very high moral values and all these things. But right now, that distinction is blurred. Whether it's East or West, the whole world is in a very volatile environment. So therefore, if we're in a very volatile environment, volatility is higher, the option value is much higher. So therefore, the value to practice is much higher. And just roughly, what does volatility mean? Volatility means how much are you deviating from the mean. So that's actually the definition of here. So like this is how volatility. So if this is the standard, a person following Jainism, these are the general benchmarks. One cannot say that this is exactly what it is, but by and large, one can know that these are the normal patterns of a Jain lifestyle or a Hindu lifestyle or a Christian lifestyle. These are the general norms and patterns. Because we can say, okay, there are some people, there are different sects in Jainism, some people believe this, some people believe that, but it's not too much deviating. So that's generally, by and large, what needs to be followed. And then how well you follow it, that depends on the volatility. How much are you deviating from that? Now, interest rates. So, higher the interest rates, greater the option value. In Jainism, interest rate is the environment, because we are not in control of the interest rates. Like in technicals, in finance, we have no control over rates. They are set by the Bank of England or by the Fed. If the interest rates are high, you keep money in bank. There's huge demand for options, because I can say I can earn a lot of money in the bank, and then with a small amount of money, I can now trade into the options market. They've got a higher option value. How am I linking that to Jain Dharma? We have had no control of our current birth. They were set by past karmas. The fact that we are born as humans, we had no control over that. After past karmas, that has determined our present form. If Jain philosophy is high soul value, so if the interest rates are high, so if Jain philosophy is a high soul value, then make time in our busy lives. Huge demand and thirst for Jain knowledge, therefore option to follow Jainism path has huge value. So we really need to make time to follow our religion. It's an general environment. We have to set the right environment, make it conducive for us to follow our philosophy. For example, if our Jain philosophy's base was hinsa, no, this is wrong. Every time something wrong happens, fight. Then one can argue that the option can be very, very, very low, because all the time you're just talking about himsa, you're fighting. So our philosophy has got a very pristine, it's got anekantvad. It's got so many other principles that, ahimsa, anekantvad, that we have got a very, very strong value to say that, our underlying principles are very, very pristine, and therefore we need to follow. The environment is very conducive for us to follow. Now, what's the difference between financial options and Jain options? In a financial options, there's always a buyer and a seller. So if I did a contract, I've got the right to buy, there must be someone else who's got to sell something. There always has to be two parties in a financial transaction. Or if you've got the right to sell, a put option, then there has to be someone who is going to buy it from me. In religious options, you are both. You are the seller and you are just dealing. You are trading with your own self. Profit and loss is accrued to oneself. In a financial market, one person makes the profit, other person loses. So obviously, in a Jain option, we cannot derive a quantitative value. I cannot say the value of this to practice Jainism is going to be 50 pence, but it's like a qualitative assessment. I've tried to take these 5 parameters and made a qualitative assessment rather than a quantitative assessment. So just to conclude, we've looked at the overview of options and derivatives. We've looked at call options and put options. Options have a value. The Black-Scholes formula, they came up with how to value these options. They came up with these 5 core parameters. And for each of us, the practice with Jainism is greatest because, and let's look at this. Greater the spot price. So you've got the human birth, we've got the grain religion, so greatest option value, just to summarize. So our spot price. Higher the strike price, pursue religion beyond one's means or set non-achievable targets, lower the option value. So if you really set very high targets for each one of us, then the value of the option is very low. Each of us need to set our own targets based on where we are. Greater the time, so younger we are, greater is the option value. Higher the volatility, greater the divergence in virtues and vices in our environment, higher the option value. We can see in our society right now, there's so much divergence. If children go to school, there are people having drugs, people smoking. There's just so much divergence. And so therefore, for even the children to say, yes, I need to stay on this strong path here, then there's a higher value because they are seeing so much. Some people are great, some people are doing this, and how to maintain your path is therefore it's very important. Higher the interest rates, we are in the Kal Yuga, Duksam Kal, 5th time era, so higher the option value. We are staying in this kind of environment right now that we still have got this pristine religion in spite of being in a very sort of volatile and a lot of problems around us, and therefore I think we really need to follow our religion and be grateful for everything. So call option is analogous to sowing seeds. Call option, you're paying a premium, sowing seeds, sending our children to JVP Gyanshala, nurturing ourselves, benefits beyond imagination. And so therefore when you look at the non-linear payoff, if I spend little bit of time doing this, then the payoff to our children, to ourselves, that payoff is non-linear. Even after Uvasagram Maveche, Chintamani Kapapai Ubbhaiye, and Uvasagram Stotrama. So what happens is, by reciting this stotra, Chintamani is what? A jewel. And in that jewel, what they say is that if you made a wish, okay, let my health become better, then that jewel will actually make your health better. It's like a wish-fulfilling stone. Kapapaya, Kalpa Vraksh, that's what Kapapaya is. So in those times, there used to be the theory that you could be under a tree, Kalpa Vraksh, whatever you decide, I need a house, I need a shelter, I need this, that tree will fulfill all your wishes. And say, even more than that, just by bowing down to Parshvanath Bhagwan, my wishes will be fulfilled. So you can imagine that even in spite of all this, the benefits can be huge for us. So by spending a little bit, the benefits, the profits accruing to us is going to be huge. Put option. How does put option? So how can I gain in a negative market? So that's sort of, in a financial sense, put option is that how can I get value in a downward market? Whenever we find ourselves in difficult or negative situations, we can uplift ourselves spirituality. So nurturing ourselves, so we can gain in pain. This is a chance for me to get rid of my karma. So it's actually my karma kapaye. So my soul is actually becoming better. So in this negative, disease can health problems or anything. So by having a positive perspective, you can actually say, okay, I'm in a negative situation. It's difficult right now, but still, with the right perspective, you can then say that, yeah, this is actually a golden opportunity, and with that right perspective, you can actually even start having gains. Okay, so that's basically just the talks. So the options is yours, Jai Jayendra. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think any questions? Yeah, fine.
There is a big difference, Mr. Shah. And the difference is in finance, you can incur loss or a profit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you follow Jainism,
gain.
There is only profit. There is no loss at all.
So that's why I said call option my gain, then put option my gain. Gain. Yeah, absolutely right.
Win-win-win.
It's a win-win situation. Yeah, very true.